with another video. Today I want to talk about how I studied for nursing school, how I maintained my A's, doing NCLEX style questions. There's a way you have to think about the question when you approach it, and that will lead you towards the correct answer, or at least allow you to process of eliminate. So I'm gonna go over 5 steps today with you guys of what I use to do well in nursing school. And if you're interested, stay tuned and continue to watch this video. Number 1, above all things, when it's time to get into the material for your exams, you need to do the material that your professor is going to go over. You do not want to just go into reading the textbook without any sort of guide on what to focus on. So my first rule is to go over what your teacher is going to go over. So just wait until their lecture. Skim through the chapter. Make yourself aware of maybe the key terms, how the chapter is broken up, what disease processes are in the chapter. You can skim that, but don't read in detail at all. Watch their videos, watch their lectures that they're providing you, look at their PowerPoint notes that they're providing you. And then based on that, go into your chapter and read in detail over the disease processes or whatever information that your professor is providing you during those lecture videos or during their lecture in person. Structure your reading in the chapter like that. Number 2, color coordinate your notes. I'm a visual learner, so I love to see colors. So basically just learn the way you feel like you're gonna learn. Don't learn the way someone else is telling you to learn. Don't learn the way your classmates is learning. Learn the way that allows you to remember the information, whether that's auditory, whether that's visual, whatever. There's different quizzes you can look up online to figure out what type of learner you are, but you need to know that as soon as possible. That's what's going to get you through nursing school. When you're creating your notes, you need to have it broken down in ways for you to remember it the best way. So once you go through fundamentals, you go through some disease processes, but it's not in super detail. You don't get into detail of disease processes until like med surg and pediatric nursing. For me, at least for my program, that's when it got into heavy detail, heavy disease processes. No longer just about delegating, like we need to know what to do. No more just about assessing, when to assess. We need to know what to do. We've assessed already. So now it's time to save a life. The first thing I write down is the pathology. How is this disease process brought about? What is happening when this person has this disease? Number 2 would be signs and symptoms. So how should I see this patient? How should this patient present this disease to me? What do I need to look out for? What are common characteristics or clinical manifestations of this disease process? That's what I need to know. Number 3 is treatment. What type of order should I anticipate the doctor to input for this patient? I need to be on my P's and Q's. I need to be ready to even recommend a treatment option. And then number 4 is nursing management. So what type of management do I need to give this patient? What type of education do I need to give this patient? They've been treated, right? And so now they have a medication that they have to be on. What adverse effects do I need to teach this patient on? What do I need to teach the family members on when they're at home watching over the patient? And what type of signs and symptoms do they need to be looking out for to know when to call 911, for example, or when to just call the office about a side effect? These are things that you have to know, and what I recommend throwing in your notes when you're learning about the disease process, because they will be a test question. So I have some examples of how my notes looked. And I have to be honest with y'all, I didn't start organizing my notes like this until I took pediatric nursing. The way that I studied worked well all the way up, probably halfway through med surg. And then it was kind of like, all right, I'm gonna have to find out another way how to teach, because how to learn this information, because everybody teaches different. The type of professor that I have for med surg would tell you exactly what you needed to focus on in the text. And then other teachers would just give you a PowerPoint, read off the slide, and just say, look over this. And so their questions were pretty generic and you were able to answer the question. But once I got to pediatric nursing, I realized that I needed to organize my notes in a way that will force me to remember one disease process at a time and not get them mixed up, because that is what I noticed I did. Probably on test one from pediatric nursing, I noticed that I was getting the information like mixed up. And so I knew I needed a way to organize my notes so I wouldn't get confused, because I missed questions that were easy, but I got them confused with something else because my notes were not organized. So this is just an example of how my notes look. I know it's crazy. It's a lot of information, I know. But this is how my notes looked. And this is information for pediatric nursing. So I organized it first into clinical manifestations. I wrote that in purple. I wrote early signs. You need to know those. I wrote late signs, which you guys need to know those. I put in blue the assessment information. What do I need to look for when I'm assessing? Teaching. What do I need to write? What do I need to tell the family on prevention and how to maintain the treatment options? And then in red, I wrote like cautionary things. So like, for example, for increased intracranial pressure, you do not want to suction through the nares because that's contraindicated, and that can cause different pressures to happen in the skull, and it's crazy. But I just wrote things like that in red. And another thing, don't give meds per rectum because that can increase your intracranial pressure as well. So just as a brief overview, that's just what I wrote. And then there was just some extra information in the back about other definitions and stuff. Okay, number 3. Now, we've been studying, right? We've been getting information from our lecture notes, right? Our chapters. Number 3 is study at least 1 week before your exam. So I know everything's hectic. Each exam probably has 10 chapters on it. So as soon as you get presented that information, you need to organize your planner or whatever you're using to stay organized. You need to organize it quickly, and you need to organize your days in a way where you're able to tackle 2 chapters that day. You have your notes done. Next chapter that day, you have your notes done. So by the time a week hits before your exam, you have all your notes done and organized, and now it's just time to study. For me, I need repetition. I have to keep looking at the information and repeat it, saying it out loud, just constantly reading it. I would bring copies of my notes to work, and on my breaks, I would read them, take pictures of my notes. So whenever I'd have a break or downtime anywhere, I could read my notes. That's what I did to prepare for my exam at least 1 week before. Number 4, practice problems are your friend. Okay, so if you can find practice problems somewhere, whether it's Quizlet, the back of your textbook chapter, online when you register your textbook, there's practice questions that they provide. Do those. There's this thing called adaptive quizzing that our school requires we purchase. I did those questions. I bought the study guide for my textbook, which is sold separately. I did those questions, and always look at rationales. You need to know why you are doing what you're doing for this patient, because that is a test question. You can study that disease process from front to back, head to toe, left to right. But if you don't know why you're doing anything, you're going to get that question wrong. Plain and simple. You just need to know why that is NCLEX. That's for NCLEX. That's for your HESI exams. That's for your ATI. That's for your exit exams. That's for your finals. Everything. You need to know why. Rationales are so important. Even if you're doing a practice question and you got it right, you need to look at that rationale and why you got it right. I sometimes have that habit of just skipping it like, oh, I knew that answer. Boom, I don't need to know why. No. Because you could be asked that same exact question, but one word could be different in that question, and then the answer is completely wrong, and in your rationale, it's going to state, this word was provided in the question, which negated whatever. Like, it will come to you like that. So always know your rationales. If you're doing practice problems and rationales are not provided, I recommend you looking through your textbook, trying to locate where that information was talked about in your text and read around it. Look for a box in the top left corner of your paper. Look for wherever it was stated. Look in the index. Look somewhere wherever that information was talked about in your textbook, and you need to read around that information and find out why you're doing what you're doing for that patient. And number 5, my final rule or step or whatever you want to call it into preparing for your exams for nursing school is on the day of the exam, allot some time, whether your exam is in the morning or afternoon, allot some sort of time prior to that exam to study. When I was taking my med-surg exams, our exams were in the morning. So I would allot maybe about 2 to 3 hours prior to my exam, and I would just go over material that I'm still kind of on the fence of, still kind of like, if I get a question like this, I wouldn't really know how to answer it, or I wouldn't know how to approach it. Those are the type of information I'm going over. I'm not going over anything that I already know. I'm going over material that I'm having trouble with remembering. Now, when I got to pediatric nursing, our exams were in the afternoon. Our exams started about, I think it was 2 o'clock or 2:15 p.m. And so me and my study buddy will get together at like 8 a.m. that morning and study all the way until 1, which I don't recommend. Hey, whatever floats your boat. A lot of people will probably see this video and say, what? You study that many hours before an exam? Hey, we had to. It's whatever your professor makes your test to be, but our exams were so hard. We needed those extra hours to go over the material, or we were gonna do horribly bad. So of course, this is just based on your discretion, what you're able to handle. Some people can't go over that much material before an exam and feel like that they have stamina for the test. So of course it's up to you and how long your exam. So that's why I just recommend about 1 to 2 hours prior to your exam and go over material that you don't know. But what we would do is we get together 8 a.m. and go over, kind of compare notes and go over anything that either one of us is having trouble remembering. And I would bring up a way, oh, well, this is how I remember it. And then she'll bring up a way like, oh, well, this is how I remember it. And we just kind of bounce ideas off of each other. It's nothing super like hardcore. It's not material we have no idea about. It's all material we've seen before. We've studied on our own. And now we're getting together and just kind of comparing thoughts on how to remember things on the exam. And this got us through. I made an 89 in pediatric nursing. I don't know. This is just what I did and it got me through it. So these are just my recommendations on how to do well in nursing school. And this is what I did. And this is how I did well. And I maintained, an A average. All right. So that's 5 steps on what I did to do well in my nursing classes. And I hope these steps help you. And if you need any more information, if you guys have any more questions about nursing school or how nursing school was for me, so I can just help you guys with this nursing journey along with me, because I'm still going through it. I'm not done by any means. I still have 2 semesters left and then I'll have my RN. All right, so thanks for watching. Make sure you like this video, comment down below, and subscribe before leaving. And I'll see y'all later. Bye. Oh, Georgia, y'a pas moyen.